Hello, Labs Rats are in touch again, and we are ready to check out the latest and most unusual slice recipes. Of course, we will use the popular ingredients, light and ordinary plasticine, as well as ordinary chewing gum. Let's start with a recipe for which we need a light plasticine. I have a bag with bright orange plasticine. Divide it into pieces for easier mixing. Add a small amount of hand cream. I squeeze a little toothpaste into a bowl. Then add the fairies, all in small quantities, alas by eye, since the proportions are not indicated in the recipe. Start to mix. Doing this with a spoon, as you see, does not make much sense, so almost immediately I take the mass in my hands. The mixture of plasticine and other ingredients became very sticky. It was smeared on the fingers and is extremely difficult to remove it from them. At the same time, mass did not start to stretch like a slime. I want to try adding another bag of light plasticine, pink this time. Suddenly, I went too far with other ingredients, and increasing the amount of plasticine in the recipe would save the case. I mix, but unfortunately a significant difference is not noticeable. Plasticine maybe became less sticky, but alas did not become a slime, and it remained a light plasticine, a little softer, so there was no point in adding all these products to it. You could play with plasticine and so on. We pass to the second recipe. For him, we again need air plasticine, as well as store slime and cream, as well as dye, if desired. I take this yellow mucus, put it in a bowl, then add purple light plasticine, in pieces there. Squeeze a small amount of cream on top and begin to knead. Mixing looks very strange. The spoon is springing away from the mucus, and the mucus itself and light plasticine seem to be completely reluctant to combine. While I manage to slightly connect the cream with light plasticine, the mucus categorically does not want to make contact. I'll try to take this strange mass in my hands and mix it well. As you can see, I am very carefully trying to mix the mass with my hands, but so far the result is not happy. Let me put the most of the mixture back into the bowl and continue to mix a small piece in my hands. But even so, nothing happens. Look, pieces of mucus just roll off plasticine. Unfortunately, it is impossible to combine them. That's what I did. Plasticine from active attempts to stir it with mucus completely deteriorated. It began to disintegrate into fibres and pieces that have absolutely nothing to do with the slime. Unfortunately, the recipe is not working. The third recipe is very interesting, and for it we need ordinary plasticine. First, I pour a little PVA glue into the bowl. Take such a blue block of plasticine. I will divide it into pieces, so that later it will be easier to mix with glue. Ordinary plasticine is much harder than light plasticine, and it's not easy to stir it with a spoon. Therefore, I almost immediately take a piece of plasticine in my hands and begin to mix it with glue for a long time and persistently. Plasticine gradually begins to soften. I think it's time to add prescription boric acid. For a long time and thoroughly mix already with a new component. Plasticine gradually combines with glue, but boric acid has not yet manifested itself. I'll try to add some more. I mix it well again. The mass is still very sticky. It remains on the fingers and gets my hands dirty. Now it's time for a prescription to add shaving foam. I mix the mass well with the new ingredient. She has become even more sticky and began to stretch in thin fibres. As you can see, my fingers are finally stuck in this mass. Boric acid as a thickener only works in tandem with soda or fairies, and in the recipe there is neither one nor the other. Apparently, that's why the slime is so sticky. I'll try to add a little fairy so that the boric acid can react with it. I mix in the hands, but so far nothing has changed much. I'll try to add a little more boric acid. Again I interfere thoroughly. Once again I ask the second tester to add a little fairy. I myself can't do this because all my hands are covered with a sticky mixture. Slime slowly began to stretch into the film, but playing with him is very inconvenient due to the fact that he is terribly sticky. Collecting it from your fingers is almost impossible. Therefore, the only option to try to save the mass is to add a small amount of boric acid and little soda. Maybe it will help. But as you see, nothing good came of it. Because at that moment, when the slime stopped sticking to his hands, he turned into a piece of tight rubber. It might be better if you add some more shaving foam. Or will it not? Well, check it out now. Look, here we have such a beautiful blue slime. And you don't even need to put a filler in it, since the blue pieces of plasticine, which did not dissolve during the mixing, perfectly perform this function. But he, of course, is still taut. It seems to me that boric acid is not the best thickener option. Moreover, initially, there was no fairies or soda in the recipe. Go to the next recipe. Oh, we need gum, orbits or dirol, and I just have a whole bunch of orbit pads. And I will use it. Add all 10 pillows to the bowl, and as stated in the recipe, melt them in the microwave. The chewing gum has warmed up well. Now you can knead it in your hands. If you repeat the recipe, then be extremely careful when you are planning to take the pads in your hands. They are very hot, especially the inner contents under the glaze. Gradually I knead all the chewing gum in my hands and collect them into one big lump. It looks strange so far. The chewing gum fibres are interspersed with solid pieces. I'll start adding shaving foam to this unusual mass. Honestly, while I'm skeptical about this recipe, it seems to me that the foam will not mix with the chewing gum. But let's not draw conclusions ahead of time, and first we will try it and test everything. The mass is quite dense and it's difficult to interfere, but I will add more shaving foam and keep mixing. So far, I have in my hands a mixture of hard pieces and thin stretched fibres. But I of course do not give up, but add more foam. Mix and knead well to achieve maximum mass, uniformity. Add more foam. And now our mass begins to slowly stretch into a thin film. I continue to thoroughly knead, and what I'm finally starting to get I already like. Amazing, but the mass really began to stretch quite well. And the thin film is more and more homogeneous each time. Look how great our slime chewing gum began to stretch. Amazing! Now I have a strange idea. I want to try making chewing gum and shaving foam fluffy slime. It's very interesting what will happen when I add more shaving foam to the slime. Thoroughly mix a new portion of the foam with the existing mass and just look. It really becomes more airy. My idea that the foam does not mix with chewing gum, as it turned out, was completely wrong. They mix well. Guys, I'm certainly very surprised. I did not believe in this recipe at all, and it suddenly turned out. But keep in mind that when you add a lot of foam to the mass, it becomes more and more sticky and starts to stick to your fingers. Even a lizard can be pulled out of a bowl with difficulty, such as it's sticky. And so, as you can see, it is reaching out, so be careful with the foam. If you, like me, want to make a bubblegum fluffy slime. For the fifth recipe, we will need a lot of ingredients. And first of all, I will take a large bowl so that everything fits and it is convenient to mix. Add 50 milliliters of PVA glue. The next ingredient is 2 tablespoons of cream. Then I add 3 tablespoons of baby oil to the bowl at once. I mix these ingredients. The mixture is quite liquid and oily from the oil. Now I put the contents of 1 bag of light plasticine in a bowl. Mix the clay with the resulting mass. It is not so easy to mix light plasticine, but at the same time it is much simpler than a regular plasticine bar. Thanks to plasticine, the mass became a pleasant pink colour. Now according to the recipe, I add 1 tablespoon of water and 3 tablespoons of shampoo to it. Now according to the prescription, you need to add the most dangerous ingredient, toothpaste. And immediately, half a tablespoon, experiencing by adding, and pour another half spoon of fairies into a bowl. I am mixing. It seems to me that resulting too many additional fluids and too little glue, but it is too early to draw any conclusions. I start adding boric acid mix. While the mass is very liquid, the recipe says that it is important not to overdo it with boric acid. But I have to add it more and even more, and the mixture, as it was very liquid and remains. It feels like nothing is changing at all. I would try to strengthen the effect of boric acid by adding a pinch of soda and mix well. Just a little bit soda. I interfere, but alas, nothing happens at all. I think it's time to move on to proven methods and add a little sodium tetraborate to the liquid mass. But even tetraborate cannot cope with so many additional ingredients. So I add more PVA glue to the mass. So many ingredients have been spent that I really want to bring this recipe to mind. A few more drops of tetraborate, and now guys, the mass begins to curl right before our eyes. I gradually knead it, and now the mixture is already reaching for a spoon and even began to lag behind the walls of the bowl. I'll try to stretch it with my hands. It stretches perfectly. But immediately one minus is revealed. The slime is very sticky. I immediately stick it to my fingers, but it stretches fine. Let's check how it clicks. Conclusion. If I put the ingredients only as indicated in the recipe, the slice would not work. Be careful with the addition of a large amount of liquid ingredients. And even today, I did not really like boric acid as a thickener. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel, because new cool videos will be released very soon. Do not miss. Bye everyone.